Mick Foley's going to get cheers, and then Ryback's going to get the heat. Ryback will get the boos in that scenario. But as soon as John Cena's music hit, he came out to save the day and protect Mick Foley. He got the fuck booed out of him. Literally. They got the fuck booed out of him. Alright, it's time for another wrestling review. WWE Monday Night Raw episode for April 22nd. Yeah, that sounds about right. April 22nd edition of the show. And I'm going to try to keep the review under 20 minutes this time. I'm going to try to limit the rants that I go on. I got a lot I want to say about the final segment of the show. So, but I'm going to try to keep it quick. So let's get started. First, like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to my channel. Really helps me out. I appreciate it. Alright, now let's get started. Okay, so the show opens. Look, I even have notes this time. Show opens with Paul Heyman in the middle of the ring. And that's a good way to open any episode of Raw. So he's talking about how Triple H was supposed to respond to his challenge, to Brock Lesnar's challenge this week, but he didn't show up. And he sent Paul Heyman an email saying he wasn't going to be there. So Heyman, he's good on the mic, and he was bashing Triple H on the mic, calling him a coward, all this stuff. It was good. And then Triple H, his music hits, turns out he is there. Comes in, says, I accept the challenge. And then he pedigrees Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's a champ. He takes it like a champ. It was a good segment. Fairly good way to start off the show. Paul Heyman, unfortunately though, it was very similar to what we got in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, which was just about a month ago, where Triple H accepted Brock Lesnar's challenge then and beat up Paul Heyman at that time. So it was almost identical to that. So, kind of feel bad for Paul Heyman. He just gets the shit kicked out of him by Triple H nowadays. One thing that was funny was listening to Paul Heyman say, no, please, please. He had the mic away from him like this because Triple H was pulling the mic away, and Paul Heyman's like, no, please, no. He sounded so cowardly. It was pretty funny. I loved it. So next up, we had match R-Truth versus Antonio Cesaro. R-Truth is back to his what's up gimmick, rapping down to the ring, which I hated that fucking gimmick, and now it's back, and guess what? I still hate it. And what happened to the Little Jimmy stuff? That's gone. That's kind of disappointing. The one thing that made R-Truth interesting since his time in the WWE, including back before he left to go to TNA, was the Little Jimmy gimmick. That was entertaining, but now I guess he's back to boring old, what's up, generic good guy. So, whatever. And Antonio Cesaro, he's still pissing somebody off. Oh man, he just keeps getting shit on. Now he loses to R-Truth, and yeah, he's circling the drain. Somebody has flushed the toilet, and he is almost down the bowl. So, sorry, Antonio Cesaro. Oh, and what was up with fucking Cole? Michael Cole doing the R-Truth dance. He's sitting there looking like a retard. What's up? What's up? Man, is that supposed to make people at home want to buy a ticket to come to the show so they can sit there in the crowd and look like an idiot like Michael Cole? Fuck, I'm never going to go to a Raw show again after seeing that. Jeez Louise. Alright, so then the Shield comes in on a helicopter. It was a cool intro. It felt pretty old school because they used to have guys come in limousines or cool arrivals in different sorts of vehicles back in the day. So to see him come in a helicopter was pretty neat. It was pretty cool. And then next up, we had tons of fucking shit. Brodus Clay versus Damian Sandow. And you know what? I skipped that match because that's just garbage. Absolute garbage. Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow being wasted in this shit fucking feud with tons of fucking shit. And it's a shame. And I'm not going to watch it. So I don't even know who won, and I don't care. Next up was a backstage segment with Dolph Ziggler. And it was pretty funny. Ziggler was just ogling the title belt, the World Heavyweight Championship, but it was off camera, so at first you think he's talking to AJ, and then it pans out, and it's the title. And that was pretty funny. And it was good until Vicky Guerrero and Brad Maddox showed up. God, that fucking Brad Maddox, man. He is... I mean, Vicky's terrible, too, but what the fuck is up with Brad Maddox? I just don't get it. I do not get it. But she says she makes a stipulation that if Dolph Ziggler loses his match against Chris Jericho tonight on Raw, then his match at the pay-per-view, which is currently a three-way triple threat match, is going to turn into a fatal four-way match. So, given that stipulation, I thought that Dolph Ziggler was going to lose that match, because that's just what they like to do with Dolph Ziggler. Because that was the very next match then, was Y2J versus Dolph Ziggler. And the match was pretty good. I thought the match was good, but there were a little too many submissions in this match. It kind of drug it out at parts, so they could have done without as many submissions. But other than that, the match was pretty good. The crowd was pretty into this match. But they started acting really stupid throughout. They started doing fandangoing, which is, I think that's dumb. And they did the wave, which, whatever. And they did "We Are Awesome" chants, which just seemed like they were trying to copy the crowd from a couple of weeks ago, which really seemed ridiculous. Also, Raw was in London this week, so, I forgot to mention that at the top of the show, but that's where they were at. So the crowd was a little more jacked than usual. Alright, so what happened during this match? Well, they made Dolph Ziggler look as shitty as possible. There were multiple interferences by the Team Ziggler, which is Biggie Langston and AJ, and Ziggler couldn't get anything done with the interferences. Like, at one point, AJ distracted the referee, and Biggie punched Jericho, from the outside of the ring on the apron there. And Dolph couldn't get a pinfall off of that, and then there was a second interference, and Ziggler tried to hit his finisher, and Jericho countered that, so he couldn't even get it then. But then Ziggler finally got the win because Fandango's music hit, and it distracted Jericho while he had Ziggler in the Walls of Jericho, by the way. The real one. Ziggler can pull off selling the real Lion Tamer, so that looked pretty cool. But having Ziggler look like fucking garbage throughout the entire match was not cool. And then when Ziggler did win the match, this is what Michael Cole said as soon as the 3 count was... Okay, I couldn't remember what Cole said, so I had to look it up. I thought I had it in my notes, but I didn't. As soon as the 3 count came down for Dolph Ziggler to win the match, Cole says, Ziggler escapes Jericho tonight, right after the 3 count. He escapes. He's the fucking World Heavyweight Champion, and he's a good wrestler. He escapes? Come on. But that's what they made it look like, because it took 3 separate interferences for Ziggler to pick up a fucking victory. My God. That's just terrible. Come on. Terrible way to book your new champ still, but at least he got the victory, but they still managed to make him look like fucking garbage even though he got a win. But you know what? I'll take a win. So, I guess I'll take it. Okay, so next up, you're going to love this. More tons of fucking shit come out. This time it's Tensai versus Cody Rhodes. And, just see the comments that I made earlier. So next up, we have Kane and Daniel Bryan in a backstage segment. And this segment was pretty funny. I liked it. Daniel Bryan was pretty funny in the segment. He was like, this is Team Hell No and The Undertaker, not the Brothers of Destruction with Daniel Bryan. And that was pretty funny. And he was holding up his little clipboard with his diagrams and his strategies all written down in there. And it was funny to see him do that stuff. I liked that. I laughed. Then they were attacked at the end of the segment by the Shield. They didn't show it was the Shield. They just their feet, their legs on the camera because the cameraman got knocked down, I guess. So, but you knew it was them. That was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool segment. Again, WWE is... Sorry, I got something in my eye. WWE is doing a good job with the Shield so far. Still, I'm surprised they haven't fucked it up yet, but I still think it's coming. That big fuck up. So next up was Big E Langston versus Zack Ryder. And just a side note, Zack Ryder posted a new YouTube video this past week. And it wasn't a whole lot. It was just a few seconds long. But I recommend you check it out. I'm even going to put a link to it in the description. Because I'm a big Zack Ryder fan. I got the Broski t-shirt on. I don't know if you can see it. But always a big Zack Ryder fan. And it was good to see him on TV. Even though it was a fucking squash match. And Big E Langston won. So, you know, got to see Big E wrestle. I haven't seen too much of him. I still haven't formulated an opinion on him yet. But WWE just broke Zack Ryder's spirit. He just comes out and gets squashed. Or he's in these ridiculous fucking joke matches all the time. And, yeah, that's disappointing. They pissed all over Zack Ryder. All over his hopes and dreams. Alright, so next up we had... Alright, so next up was one of the big matches of the evening, Kane, Daniel Bryan, Undertaker versus The Shield. First to start off, Undertaker comes out by himself because Kane and Daniel Bryan are, they got their asses kicked by The Shield backstage, so he comes out alone, and then The Shield comes out, surrounds the ring, gets in, starts attacking him. And then Kane's music hits, Kane and Daniel Bryan come out, and there's a brawl going on. It was pretty cool. I have something I want to talk about with the brawl that happened, something the WWE's been doing lately with those kinds of segments, but I think I might save that for another video. I might even make an entirely separate video about it. We'll see, but I don't have time to put it in right now. So anyway, goes to commercial, comes back, the match starts, and the crowd was really into this match, mainly for The Undertaker, which was Undertaker's first Raw match in like 3 years, so everybody was pretty pumped. And the match was really good. It was fast-paced, it was exciting, a lot of good wrestlers in the match there, so, they were putting on a good show. There was a cool double team spot where Dean Ambrose had Bryan in like a surfboard type submission. He was up over Dean Ambrose's head. Daniel Bryan was face up. And I think it was Seth Rollins. Yeah, it was Rollins. Jumped off the top rope and hit him with like a diving knee. That was pretty cool. And it was cool to see Undertaker get the hot tag from Daniel Bryan. Undertaker came in and just dominated the Shield. Was whooping ass. It was great to see. It was good stuff. And let's see here. Daniel Bryan, the match was really good. I liked the match. It was a good match, but in the end, Daniel Bryan lost, and it was pretty easy to tell that the Shield was going to win this match, and Kane, Undertaker, and Daniel Bryan were going to lose. And if there's anybody out there that thought that anybody other than Daniel Bryan was going to get pinned in this match, you're out of your minds. There's no way they were going to have Kane or Undertaker lose that match. Daniel Bryan was going to do the job for sure, and he did. Another thing I want to point out is Michael Cole is fucking garbage on commentary. He can't commentate to like save his life. He's fucking terrible. And when wrestling moves happen, he doesn't call them wrestling moves. He calls them vintage moves. Vintage Orton. Vintage Undertaker. Vintage Kane. Vintage CM Punk even. And Punk hasn't even been there like a big name for that long. But as soon as he got big, he's like, oh, vintage Punk. It's fucking... But it was funny to hear JBL also on commentary. Because, Cole was doing vintage whatever at some point. And then JBL countered with, oh, this is vintage Cole commentary. And it was pretty funny. It made me laugh because I fucking hate that vintage shit. Call what the move is. Don't say vintage. That's just code for I don't fucking know what's happening, so I'm going to just say random bullshit. Fucking Michael Cole. God damn it. Alright, anyway, next up was Fandango versus William Regal. And this was, this match, you know, they were in England, and this was just a play to the England crowd to have Regal come out and, you know, get his moment in the sun. And the crowd was super hot for that. But then Regal lost in the end. I mean, he's pretty old now. He can't do a whole lot. So Fandango beat him in like 2 minutes. It was pretty short. And Fandango danced his way up the ramp. And then he got attacked by Chris Jericho when he was at the top of the ramp. That was good to see. And then Jericho took the dancer that Fandango dances with and like did a dance move with her, danced a little bit with her. The crowd loved that. I thought it was funny. I thought the funnier thing was Fandango's reaction. He acted like it was the worst thing ever. He was like, no, no, oh. So it was kind of funny to see that. Next up was the Divas Battle Royal. And honestly, I didn't even think the WWE had enough divas employed to put on a Battle Royal. So that surprised me. But then I skipped it, and apparently AJ won that. So whoopity-doo-dah-day. Alright, so next up is the main event. Mick Foley, he's been backstage off and on all night, selling his book, promoting his new book or DVD. I don't know what the hell he was promoting. I skipped all his segments because I knew exactly where they were going with it. So he comes out to the ring and he calls out Ryback. Ryback comes out and Mick Foley basically works his ass off on the mic to try to put over this impending heel turn by Ryback. And Mick Foley was very emotional on the mic, very passionate. He's very good at that. So, you know, what he was saying was fun to listen to. And he was doing a good job of, you know, building that up. And Ryback was being a super heel on the mic tonight. He was, you know, telling the fans to shut up, telling Mick Foley to shut up, calling him a fat bastard, telling him to stop promoting his DVDs. You know, it was great to see. It was great to hear. Well, it was great to hear, but it would have been great to hear if it would have been better if Ryback didn't have this same monotone voice. It's almost like John Laurinaitis. He kind of sounds like, but more intense. You know, he's like, Mick Foley, you piece of trash, you piece of garbage, you fat bastard. You know, whether he's talking intense like that or he's just talking in that backstage promo the other week, he's got that same tone of voice. John Cena, I'm tired of being in your shadow. You know, that tone doesn't ever change. It's all raspy and deep with the heavy breathing. I don't know if he can come up with another way of cutting promos besides that. But that's, you know, it would have been better if he didn't have that same tone of voice. Anyway, what happens is, looks like Ryback's going to attack Mick Foley. Super Cena comes out, tries to get in the way, tells Mick to leave the ring, then the Shield music hits and they come down. So Cena, you know, he acts like he's going to leave, he walks up the ramp, Shield starts attacking Ryback, then Cena says, I'm going to Super Cena again, fuck it. Goes back into the ring, beats up the Shield. And then, what happened? Oh yeah, he beats up the Shield, and then he gives a fireman's carry to Ryback, and the crowd boos the shit out of John Cena. When John Cena came out to save Mankind, or Mick Foley, they booed the shit out of him. So, that was then the end of the show. That was it. That was the end of the show. So, did that segment seem vaguely familiar to you at all? Did it register on some sort of a subconscious level at all? Because it should have. Because they do this all the fucking time. John Cena comes out and the crowd boos the fuck out of him. He came out a few weeks ago and Ryback hit his finisher on John Cena, the Shell Shock, and the crowd was cheering for Ryback. They were saying one more time, and they were booing the fuck out of John Cena. But the WWE doesn't listen to the fans. The fans are tired of having John Cena in that top spot, being that main event guy. They want somebody else. So they're cheering Ryback. And he's supposed to be the bad guy. So what do? They have Mick Foley come in. Because you set up a scenario with Mick Foley and Ryback. Mick Foley's going to get cheers, and then Ryback's going to get the heat. Ryback will get the boos in that scenario. But as soon as John Cena's music hit, he came out to save the day and protect Mick Foley. He got the fuck booed out of him. Literally. They got the fuck booed out of him. So when you set up Mick Foley versus Ryback, what they're doing is, they realize that people are just going to boo the shit out of John Cena, boo the fuck out of John Cena. I'm going to say fuck today. So they bring in Mick Foley to get those cheers to pass them on to John Cena when he comes out to save the day. Because they know if they just have more segments with Ryback and Cena, Cena's just going to get fucking booed constantly. And you know what? They do this all the time. That's why it seemed familiar, because back when CM Punk was a heel, this past year, it was Punk versus John Cena. Guess what they did? Punk was getting cheers, he was getting mad cheers, and Cena was getting booed out of the fucking building. So they had Punk fight Jerry Lawler for weeks, up to the point where he gave him a fucking heart attack. And John Cena was always coming in to save the day, to be the hero, Super Cena, to have those cheers for Lawler get passed on to John Cena there. And I think they had Punk versus, get into fights with Bret Hart and even probably Mick Foley at certain points. All to help get John Cena over. Because whenever it was Punk versus Cena, Cena got booed right out of the fucking building. And you know what? Let's go back to last year. Royal Rumble last year, leading up to that. People were cheering Kane when he came back with his mask on again. They were cheering Kane to beat the fuck out of John Cena. And they were booing John Cena back then, too. And they had to use Zack Ryder, who was super hot at the time, to have Kane beat the shit out of Zack Ryder to get the boos. And then John Cena would come out and save the day there, be Super Cena. Because when they just put John Cena against the heel, John Cena's the one that gets fucking booed. Not the heel. Everybody is tired of seeing John Cena. They want to see somebody else there. So they take out John Cena, insert this other guy to get all the cheers, and then they kind of try to transfer it over. But they're not fooling anybody, because as soon as Cena's music hits, they boo the fuck out of him. So the WWE just keeps doing this. And that's 3 examples right off the top of my head. Ryback, Punk, Kane, within the past 18 months. If I actually did any research on this, I could probably find a dozen examples over the past 3 or 4 years where they've done this. Because the WWE, this has got to be the only company in the world that tries so hard to just push money away from them. People are dying to see somebody else besides John Cena. They're dying to see somebody else besides John Cena in that top spot. But the WWE isn't listening to their fans. They just keep shoving John Cena in your face. But if you gave them something different, if you gave the people what they want, more people would be watching your product. They would tell their friends, more people would tune in. But no, it's the same old John Cena stuff. And you know what? They fucking edit out the boos on their replays on their website. Go back and check the replay where Ryback hit the fucking shell-shocked on Cena a few weeks ago. They edited out the boos. That's a fucking joke, man. Come on. I've never seen a company do that. Their people are telling you what they want to see, and they're like, nope, we don't want your money. We don't want your money. Just, we'd rather have you go get the pay-per-views and the shows, online for free than spend money on it. Because that's what people do. They don't want to spend their money on it. Fuck. It's a joke. It's a complete joke. WWE has got this huge hard-on for John Cena. And they're pushing their audience away. And they sit in a room and they wonder why their ratings are down. Rock's gone. Ratings are in the tank again. And it's because it's all John Cena all the time, still. And people aren't watching anymore. And it fucking sucks. And that's what I gotta say about it.